What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 339 of Opinions May Vary. I am your host, JR. I have my co-host with me, Alex.
Hello.
How's it going?
It's great.
It's something. It's something. I almost died on the way over here, but I am alive. I'm not going to waste too much time with our intro today because we have someone waiting very patiently on the internet device. Someone who we have talked about. And this might be creepy to say. I don't know. We've talked about you a lot, sir, in good ways, because we, especially Alex. Alex introduced me to this person, and it's been a mutual respect and admiration over the years. Joining us this week is artist Tom Raney. Tom, thank you so much for coming out. You can hear how nervous I am. I am literally like stuttering. Did you hear that? That was awful. Tom, thanks so much for coming on.
Oh, happy to be here. No reason to be nervous. People are people.
It's true. It's true. And you'd think after 339 times of doing this, I'd be used to it. But it's cool when we get to talk to people that we really admire.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to try not to do our usual gushing too hard, but we've been big admirers of your work for a lot of time. God, that sucks. For a long time. And this is a really neat opportunity. So we're pretty excited to talk to you today.
Should be fun.
One of my earliest con sketches was a Nick Fury headshot, and you had done it. I think it was at New York Comic Con or it was Boston Comic Con, but it was a bunch of years ago. And when people ask me like, "What's one of my favorites?" I'm like, "It's my Nick Fury," because it was one of my earliest. I think it might have been my first. And
first Nick Fury or first con sketch?
Easily one of my first three. It might have been my
Considering
first.
your collection.
And one of the things I try to explain to people is how Tom drew this face of like this grizzled Clint Eastwood-esque war veteran who has incredible secrets.
Seen some shit.
And like every scar on his face had a story. And like he just did this with a pencil and a pen. And I proudly have it hang on my wall. And I pointed out to whoever will listen to me talk about it. And since then, I bought a couple art pages, and I've shown you to JR, and JR has one of the best Wolverines I've ever seen.
I told you we gush a lot. We tend to. We'll eventually get to the questions and actually, but just give us a second. I do have. It's one of my favorite con sketches. I got it at Boston Comic Con 4 or 5 years ago. I can't remember. Mm-hmm. One of the years we were tabling there.
Yeah.
And it's like
with a specific request.
Yeah, exactly. Because I wanted I don't even know what it's called, but it's like brown suit Wolverine.
You did Bone Claws.
With Bone Claws.
Okay.
Yeah. And
yeah.
It came out fantastic. It's just one of those. I don't deserve to own this. Whenever people come over, I look at my Tom Raney. It's great. And it's one of those things. We've always noticed your work is just consistently great. But
well, I'll disagree. But yeah, but it's nice to hear.
So, sticking to the Wolverine, one of my favorite things is the attention to anatomy. Because how you put in the muscles and like the fierceness and the shading, just everything that you do to it, like just makes it. You made him look feral, even though he's on this static 2D page. And so where did this attention to anatomy come from? Because it's not a thing I see a lot. I had like a brief comparison. I forgot the second artist, but it's a lot. If anyone's ever seen Steve McNiven, like when he did
mm-hmm.
What was his
Nemesis?
Nemesis.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I see a lot of similarities there. Yeah.
Yeah, Steve's great. I'm sure we've got quite a few of the same influences coming up. Where that type of stuff comes from, I'm not really sure. I never tried to draw like anyone in particular. Mm-hmm. But I've got so many different influences that come in that I never know which ones are coming to the fore. But I guess when I was a kid, I started off with John Byrne and George Perez and Buscema and Kirby. I came to Kirby a bit later. I was more into the illustrative guys initially, and I think that's probably where the the enjoyment of drawing, the anatomical details came from. I moved off of comics for a little while and got into, like fantasy art, like Frazetta and Boris and, those guys. And found the studio, and that kind of drew me back towards comics. So it's just a ton of different things that all went toward it.
When you mention a lot of, because some of the names that you brought up, the one that caught my attention was George Perez, obviously a legend in the industry.
Oh, yeah.
So growing up admiring him, is it like, what's it like to be able to be mentioned like in the same breath? Because like the year I got the sketch from you at Boston, I think you were like 2 or 3 tables down from him. Like I remember picking up, like I got in line for a sketch from him, and then like walking out, I was like, yo, shit, it's Tom Raney. I'm going to get a sketch from him too. Is that something, like, I can't even fathom what that would be like to grow up admiring someone and then also be like not necessarily a colleague, but like, it's, you're like right down the line from them doing the same exact thing.
It is kind of weird. It still kind of freaks me out. Yeah, I hold George in enormously high regard, not just because of his talent, just because he's a fantastic guy. I've seen him go well out of his way for fans, and helping other pros out in the industry through Hero and such. And being able to be mentioned in the same breath, it's quite a thing.
When I was doing my research, one of the things I noticed was how far back your career started, because I was saying, before, like, I'm more used to the more recent stuff because I have a few pages from the Bullseye Hawkeye.
We were just talking about this last week, I think.
Yeah. And some of your stuff on Inhumans and other more recent things. And then I'm seeing like your name come up on Stormwatch, which was within the first 5 years of Image Comics being founded. So
it was within the first 5 years I was in too. It was pretty on. I got pretty early on. I was fortunate in that I got work pretty much right out of school. I went to the Kubert School, and I had some good opportunities that I'm glad panned out over the years. I don't know. I kind of got thrown right in the deep end.
I mean, that seems to be putting it lightly. I mean, especially coming right out of school and just being put it. What was it like for two people who are unbelievably artistically challenged, such as Alex and myself? We can't even, like, going to the Kubert School, is that something that you think was instrumental to your career?
Oh yeah. It definitely gave me the framework, the foundation that got me where I am. Mm-hmm. I think I learned as much, if not more, in the first couple of years that I was working professionally, but I wouldn't have picked up anywhere near what I did without that foundation already there.
Right.
Because that's a thing that I do see on your profile or some of your, like, your Wiki page and whatnot. It's like, went to the Joe Kubert School. And then I go, I don't know how often I see that with other creators, because I'm not, I can't put a finger on how many other people, currently working today had also went, but I do recall seeing the ads in the back of the comics.
Yep.
That I've always bought. And there was a point in high school where I was like, oh, I should try going to that school. But no, actually, this was junior high. And I was like, oh, I like to draw. Maybe I'll go to the school. And then I hit high school and realized I can't draw. And I kind of gave up on that. But I do get to see, like, just from what he was making, and I do see, like, a lot of his influences in some of your work. Just, the way, I don't know how to describe it. That's really cool. I'm freezing up a little bit. One of the things I mentioned before we got started was your work on the Warlock Chronicles, which I feel it's a weird. Have you had to sign any of these recently? Like, do those still pop up for audit? They do?
Yeah, I still sign a surprisingly large number of them. I would have thought by now I'd have gotten to all of them, but nope.
Eventually you're going to.
So the weird thing about that book that I do want to say, it came after Infinity Gauntlet stuff, and I believe it came after some of the Thanos Quest stuff.
When you say Warlock, is this Adam Warlock we're
Yes,
talking about?
yeah.
Okay, got it.
Because now it's like they took the gauntlet away, and they're going to protect the gems, and here they are protecting the gems, and it's the team, and it's Drax and Gamora before they ever made it to Guardians of the Galaxy, but I feel it was more readily available to fans because it came after the big event, and so more people or more stores picked up on like, oh, we'll sell comics, and it's what gave me all the character work and the background stories and who all these people were when I never got to the major stories itself because I never went to a comic shop as a kid. I went to my 7-Eleven.
Right.
And so like I do feel books like that are underappreciated. And so I'm glad like they still come around.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's nice to see. Yeah, I think Infinity Gauntlet was it kind of set things going for where we are now with the big events all the time. Mm-hmm. But it definitely came out of some great stories that Jim had come up with. And there's a reason people are still talking about his stuff now. and always will, as far as I'm concerned.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have a chance to check out the Infinity War movie?
Oh yeah. I thought it was fantastic.
Right? Unbelievable. Like even with like I didn't even think like, oh well, they changed this, and in the book it was like this, and like it wasn't even like an option. It's like I don't care. The book is great. I don't need it to follow the book.
They don't have to fight on a moon base or anything.
Yeah,
I mean, maybe they still will.
I don't need to have a carbon copy of what I've already read.
Right.
I'd rather have the impression of it, the overall theme and the feel of it, mm-hmm. Than the little details. I think some of the neat little details are nice. They're good to bring us in that already know a little bit, but people who don't already read this stuff, mm-hmm. a lot of that just becomes fluff.
Right.
Yeah.
Going back to, like essentially when someone has a book, it slaps it down like, oh, hey, this might be one of my older works. Do you have any books in your repertoire that when people show up at your table, you think, how do you own this? Where did you find this? Where did this come from?
There are one or two. When I was still at the Kubert School, a literacy organization came to the school because they were putting together a comic that they're selling to raise funds to foster literacy in I can't remember what area they were in. And they had some pros associated with it, and most of them bailed. So they're looking for people that could get it done quick and free.
Of course,
so they came to the school, and they got a bunch of students together to do it. And I did one of the pages in it. It was called Word Warriors, and it was a nice little book. It's really rough, but every once in a while it shows up.
And is it the kind of thing where like you're happy to send, or did you go, like just forget I did this?
Oh God.
It was for a good cause.
Right.
So I'm rarely happy with the work that I do now. Looking back at things, I can find little things that aren't as bad as I remember them. So I kind of am happy to see that. There's nothing's ever going to be where I want it to be. So. I'm happy that people saw it to begin with.
I hope that program worked because I didn't have that program, but I was in like a special reading class in my elementary school, and I started reading comics, and my dad was like, I don't like him spending all this money. My mom's like, he's reading. Shut up. Buy more comics.
Oh yeah.
And
they're great for that.
Oh yeah. There's that psychological thing of like how it affects both sides of the brain because you're looking at pictures, but you're also reading words. One of the things I wanted to ask between working on Warlock and Silver Surfer, and then working on other stuff like with like the Bullseye Hawkeye book, do you ever have a preference as to doing like the single character fighting in a building versus like you have all of space? Make up a planet and draw the whole planet versus So it's the Avengers Tower, but the Sentry's there. So you have to have the Sentry's like specific design on top of the Avengers Tower, and you have to get it just right.
You know, it's all drawing and it's all storytelling. So generally, I try to make whatever job I'm on my favorite thing. And you know, coming up, I thought that that I'd enjoy single characters a bit more. But I always seem to end up on team books. Even solo characters end up having huge casts.
Right.
So it all ends up being a team book at some point. And you know, I like drawing people more than buildings.
Right.
So, so I guess I'm probably happier doing team books.
Okay.
When we've seen you draw pretty much exclusively at conventions, and I'm sure we'll get to convention talk in a little bit, but having seen you at conventions multiple times over the years, we've seen you obviously draw, with traditional pen and ink on paper. Do you do any sort of digital art at all?
Yeah, for print work, I do my my layouts and my pencils digitally. Then I print that out in blue line and I ink traditionally.
It seems to
my
be like
pencils are really loose.
It seems to be a growing trend that I've noticed. A lot of people seem to be doing that. Is it just like, I imagine it's a lot faster. You can, correct any mistakes with the pencils, like right then and there without having to erase. Is it just something? Is it just easier?
It's a combination of both. For the most part, it's faster. That you've got tools available. These days, lately, I'm drawing in Procreate on my iPad, and it's got a perspective grid built in, so it makes doing backgrounds and things like that far simpler. You still have to know perspective. You still have to know how these things work. But when you can just have a line snap to where you want it instead of having to pull out a ruler and hold it in place and do all the little technical things, it makes things faster in that regard. So working in on the computer first, getting all my schematics basically in place, that goes much faster, and I spend more time doing drawing in ink these days than in pencil.
Do you typically ink your own work?
Yeah, for about the past 5 or 6 years.
Damn.
Yeah, I always liked inking myself. It's how I started out. But the monthly grind doesn't offer a whole lot of time for that. And when I got in, I really wasn't fast enough to do both. But speeding up the pencil part, working digitally, kind of kicked me back in that direction.
Right. Would you ever consider, like, with a lot of artists we see going full digital, is that something that you ever see yourself doing, or are you still, more of a traditional guy?
I've gone full digital in places, mainly for projects where, like, say I'm doing a commercial job outside of comics. Sometimes they own the artwork afterwards, so why should I bother making something physical if they're just going to take it anyway? So I'll just do it. I'll just do it digital that way. Sometimes if the deadline's too tight, I'll jump in and just finish the whole thing digitally. But I prefer to have something physical at the end, some kind of artifact that shows I was there.
It also goes to. Oh no, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. That can't be just wiped out with a hard drive crash.
Right. Yeah. There's also that to deal with, and it goes to show because I remember when they first announced the iPad, and a couple websites were like, "Oh my God, it's going to be." I think the joke on College Humor back, because at the time I was really into College Humor for some reason. Don't worry about it. Their big joke was like, the jokes that we can make fun of this, they're limitless. Like that was the thing. We there's so many things we make fun of with the iPad. I remember thinking, like, I would never ever need that. Who would walk around with that? Who would carry one? That's stupid. I have a cell phone. And now, like, I'm a loser because I don't have an iPad. And like the things that you can do on it, the fact that you're drawing like full penciled comic like on an iPad goes to show, like, I have my foot in my mouth. Like I'm the one who isn't with it. And like when we go to we go to PAX every year, and one of the panels that we attend is the Make a Strip panel, where they make the comic strip live in front of people and they do a Q&A. And typically Mike, the guy who draws the comic, will be doing the entire thing like right there on his surface. Like, you know, it's like a 10 by 10, or not 10 by 10, but like a 10-inch screen at most. And he's drawing like a super better than anything I'll ever draw. That's for sure. But it just goes to show like how the portable tablets and all that stuff, obviously it's blown up over the past couple of years, but it has so many different applications. And, you know, from helping people, you know, disabled people kind of live normal lives to drawing comic books. It's unbelievable.
Oh yeah, it's fantastic. Yeah, we're literally living in the Star Trek future. Yeah, running around with our tricorders.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Almost.
I don't know where to start.
I was going to say, you sound disappointed in yourself.
I kind of am. Yeah, because I mean, I don't know what question.
Where does starving go over 20 minutes?
I'm like, am I going to sound stupid if I start one of these topics?
I think we're on a good start already.
Is there? You had said like you like to make your whatever your current project is your favorite. Are there points where you turn down stuff because you just don't want to do whatever that job is, or maybe there's someone else attached to the title? Because if I had my way, I mean, you'd work on everything.
Tom, just do every book if you could, please. Thank you.
Like,
well, it's very flattering.
When it comes down to it, like, what finalizes your decision making on you know what you want to do?
So much of it's timing these days, and pretty much always has been. You know, it's not like everything that you want to do is always available.
Mm-hmm.
So more often than not, for me, it's been what's been available.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's occasionally been, well, you want this or this or this, you know, but more often it's, well, here's something. Jump on. My choices have been more where I was working and what I was working on.
Mm-hmm.
So
is there?
I don't know if that's typical or not.
Right. Is there? Do you have like a dream title? I mean, like we've been discussing, you've been around the industry for a long time, so for all I know, you've already done it. Do you have like a dream title, dream character, something or is it even creator owned? Like what would be something that you really aspire to do in the future?
That's kind of a depends on the day kind of question. You know, some days it's, you know, I want to do the creator-owned thing that I've been thinking about for years, and I've got a couple of them. And other days it's, you know, I want to draw Commandy.
Huh.
You know, there are a ton of mainstream things that I haven't had a chance to do anything with, and I'd love to. There are a couple that I've already had my hands on that I feel I could do a better job with now. That I'd like to have a second chance. Yeah, there's always something new.
I'm really gonna jump around back and forth
Let's jump.
There's more stuff coming.
Jump on it.
So, as you were getting started, at what point did you realize how important the storytelling aspect was? Because when I was a stupid kid, it's like, oh, I'm just gonna draw the superhero. I'm gonna draw the Wolverine, and he's gonna look big and muscly and have claws.
And he beats up the guy.
And yeah, and then I mean, I couldn't even draw that much. But then you have to realize, like, no, you're going to have to draw him having a conversation with Cyclops while they're not fighting.
They impressed that on us pretty quickly at the Kubert School, right there in first year.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought about it somewhat. I don't think I put it in stark terms before I got there. It was just kind of doing what I thought was the right way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
When I got there, then, you know, we started going over, you know, format and timing and, you know, establishing shots and, you know, all kinds of, you know, stuff that you don't necessarily think about in technical terms until they're put in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess it would be probably the first year at the Kuberts that really started me thinking about it in a technical manner.
And then I imagine that there's things like, now these characters have to have a range of emotions.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I was already interested in doing that.
Yeah.
You know, applying it to the story is another thing. But yeah, that's part of the fun of drawing these characters is how they react to situations.
Because some of those have become my favorite panels within the right books. Like anytime Fiona Staples does a face, and it's like it's a reaction, it's a surprise, it's happiness, it's we're gonna do something crazy now.
Yep.
It's like that's my favorite.
Yeah, she's pretty incredible, always on point.
Another one that's I believe she's full digital as well, which means I'll
I
never
think so.
I can't buy and own and encapsulate anything original.
Did the school offer multiple scripts? Because one of the things I hear artists having to deal with is like, well, one writer will have one kind of script and a different writer will have a completely opposite kind of script. And then there's having to, to turn those into pictures.
Yeah, we had a variety of different, short pieces to work on over the 3 years I was there. It still only prepared you somewhat for when you had a solid, full issue script sitting in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
It was always going to be more than you ever thought it was going to be. More work, more time, more everything. So it was kind of daunting.
Who was it? I think when we talked to Brent Peoples, and I asked him a question, and he goes, and I said something like, "Do you ever have to check in with the writer?" And he goes, "Well, that's what the editor's for." and I slapped my forehead like, "Oh right, what's he mean by this?" It's like, well, we check with the editor. he'll know what's going on.
It depends on who you're working with.
Yeah.
Some people, once the script is handed in, they're done. They're wiping their hands of it. And the editor's there for that. Some writers like to have a lot of back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't worked with anybody that just washed their hands of it, but I hear they're out there. But yeah, most of the time, especially these days, it's far easier to get in touch with the people that you work with.
Yeah.
Quite a few of them, the writers I've worked with over the years, I've never met, or I ended up meeting years afterwards. But at least these days, you can always just send an email.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're not clear on something, it's not too much to get some clarity.
Has it ever been an issue getting the right version of the characters that you're working on? When it's like saying, no, this character had like a new turnaround, so their costume is different and they behave this way now, so you can't draw it like you drew it 3 years ago. Like,
Occasionally.
Does that get to be a headache, or is it just like, okay, this is what it is now?
Yeah, you just sometimes if you're doing interiors, you want to make sure that everything is kind of laid out in front of you before you get going too much.
Mm-hmm.
Because having to redraw multiple pages can be a real pain.
Right.
But it does happen. Covers more often. I end up getting reference for like 4 different costumes for one character. And sometimes they know which one we're supposed to use, and sometimes they don't. So it keeps it interesting. So it's best guess quite often, and you try to make sure that you're using the most current one,
right,
and hope that that's what they're going for.
I don't know if this is jumping around too much. Alex, let me know, because I also wanted to, and again, this might be too much. If you had other questions that pertain to the subject at hand,
no, go ahead.
I wanted to talk conventions.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Are we good? We good with? Okay.
Yeah, I'm in for this.
Because my experience with you has been conventions, con sketches, and things like that. One thing, obviously,
it's where we see each other generally. Most of us in the job.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like, hey, it's like going to work.
I feel bad because understanding that like these artists or the artists and writers, the anchors, all the creators might not see each other again for months, and so like they want to hang out and chat, and I'm like, I just want to buy this Cyclops head. I can't.
Let me be selfish for a minute.
But I don't want to interrupt.
Yeah. Well, that's what after the show is for.
True.
Yeah.
True.
It's for hanging out.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't remember what show I saw you first. Maybe New York Comic Con. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. All I know is that you grind it out and you do a ton of shows. How do you manage to juggle that in addition to doing like your interiors and your comic work and also your industry work and all that? Like, do you have that kind of down to a science?
I don't think I've got anything down to a science, but you just kind of do what you got to do.
Mm-hmm.
I try to limit the number of shows that I do, and that's a good thing because I always end up with too many anyway.
Right.
So if I didn't limit them, then I just never do anything else. I enjoy doing shows. I like getting out and meeting the people that are into what I'm doing and people that do what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. There's not really any kind of interaction outside of shows that's anything near that. The closest is when I go to my comic shop and hang out with people there. Mm-hmm. But it's a balancing act, making sure that conventions don't get in the way of your work, and work allows some time to do the conventions. Mm-hmm. So it's an ever evolving playing field.
Do you mostly stay local, or do you travel?
It depends on the year. Past couple of years, I've done some traveling. About every other year, I tend to get out of the country at least a little bit. Not this year, so hopefully next year. It's always nice to see something that you don't see regularly.
Yeah. Right.
We talked to Jason Schachter from Essential Sequential, and he was talking about some of the international shows that they do, and what was fun, because I was like, how are fans in other countries, like, what are they like? What has your experiences been with fans like who aren't Americans?
It's much the same, aside from a language barrier occasionally. People are people. Different countries have different attitudes towards personal space, but and sometimes you don't understand specifically what somebody's saying. But everybody's there for the same reason. We like comic books, we like movies. Whatever you're there for. Fans are largely similar, area to area.
I think one of the things I think Jason pointed out was some places they seem much more grateful for the people that show up and come out, to do the show and see them. And it makes me wonder if we tend to be
oversaturated. Take it for granted.
Yeah. You're here to work for me now because I'm going to pay you this money.
I think fans in general are good. Everybody runs into somebody that's a little off. But in general, I think we've got a really good fan base. We've got a really good pro base too. I run into very few people that are less than great. I find friendly people just about everywhere. I think it's a lot what you bring in.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I definitely have way more stories about artists and creators that are awesome, and I want my friends to meet them. And I have 3 times as many stories about the good people than I do about the couple that'll be like, don't go see him.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and again, you also never know,
the bad day.
Yeah.
It might just be that
you may have caught him on a shitty day. So completely
everybody gets a bad day.
Yeah. Exactly. It's like when you meet a friend of mine. I can't remember what celebrity it was, but it was someone who I would like to think always seem excited to meet their fans and stuff. Like, oh no, I met him. He was a jerk. He threw a hissy fit because
sometimes I hear that and it just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, right.
I've met this person. They don't know who I am, but I met this person and they were cool. I saw them interact with other people and they were cool.
Exactly.
Maybe it's that guy.
And I can't help but think there's a couple points in your story, man, where you kind of gave him. Maybe he had a point if he wasn't feeling good, you showed up late and you were last in line and you demanded all these different things. It's like, come on, man, the guy, he probably wants to go to sleep, dude. He's been signing autographs for 6 hours,
right?
And he just got off a plane.
Yeah, exactly. Literally, and then he's gonna get on another plane in 12 hours. for people like me and Alex, like getting on a plane is like, okay, so we have to get on a plane in a week. We should probably start prepping mentally and physically now. But you know, you never know when you might catch someone on a bad day. So spreading,
Yeah.
and again, this might sound a little hypocritical because I'm sure we've all gossiped, but you know, spreading the bad story, it's not. Tell the good ones. Tell the, you know, we met this guy and he was great. And
Yeah.
he gave me a comment. He
Yeah,
gave me
it's
a
not
sketch.
helpful.
Yeah. One thing I've noticed, I can't recall recently, because when we see you like at shows, it's you and your banner behind you. Typically, is it still the one with the Phoenix?
Yeah. I should probably replace that. It's been a while.
It's a good banner.
It does the job.
Typically, I think in years, maybe at Hartford Comic Con, I think you had a setup where some prints were on display.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, it's just kind of you and your banner, which you're starting to, maybe there's a little bit of a shift where it's, here's me and here's my banner and then here's my wall of prints. Do you see like do you kind of gravitate toward one style of, you know, promoting your work or selling your work? Do you think that's a detriment? Do you think that's kind of how it is nowadays?
I don't subscribe to any specific manner of doing it. You know, everybody's got their own way that works best for them. I mix it up quite a bit myself, depending on the show. I've got some prints. I don't really want to be a print guy. You know, I want to be a comic artist.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm there for different reasons, I guess. So some shows I'll bring prints, other shows I won't. If I've been to a show and they don't move, there's not much point in bringing them back the next time.
Right.
But it's not the main thing I want to have with me anyway. Occasionally I'll have a sketchbook. But mainly it's just, you know, my pages. I do sketches for people and talk to people.
Have you ever, speaking of pages, let's get to pages because we have a little bit of experience with this. I might embarrass Alex a little bit here.
Okay.
Because we've had some experiences, you know, looking through the pages. Has there ever been a page, and this is a lot of, you know, what's your favorite? But you have to just excuse our fanboying, whatever you want to call it. Has there ever been a page that you know sold to a fan, another creator maybe, who knows, that it's like I kind of wish I didn't let that one go.
I don't know. I don't tend to be too nostalgic about my own work. And my general thought is if I really want it, I can just draw it again.
True. You were the one that made it.
Yeah, and hopefully it'd be better the next time. I do have, that said, I do have a couple of pieces that I've kept over the years. You know, they're ones that either, you know, the book itself was important to me, or it was something about it that my wife specifically liked. But, you know, I don't put my own work up on the wall or anything like that. It's just, you know, sitting in a box.
Right.
Bringing, you know, prints is one thing because you get to sell the same thing over and over again versus original art pages. It's like, well, I drew this issue and like that's this is the specific moment where Bullseye told Norman Osborn to piss off or something like that. And it's like some fans are going to recognize that and be like, yo, this is a page with Bullseye and Osborn, which is two of the pages I own.
Which is exactly what Alex did.
But with that, like once those are gone, a fan can't buy those again. It's one and done. And I don't know, I kind of feel like that hurts. Like you should be allowed to sell
Prints of original art pages. That seems,
which is a comic book,
fraudulent.
Yeah, that could get me in trouble. Yeah, it's, you know, I never really thought about doing it a different way. That's just, you know, the way it works.
Right. Have you ever experienced any sort of, because you obviously seem very humble with your talents, which we kind of hype you up a little bit, but you're very talented. And is it tough to kind of put a price on your own work? You know, like, you know, yeah, this is a page I did. It was in a comic book. It's this amount of dollars. Please pay me. Like, is it tough to put a price on your work being humble like that? You know, like, do you ever like when people try and maybe haggle down and stuff, is it tough to kind of have those conversations?
I don't know about tough. I find it awkward.
Right.
I mean, I know I need money to live, but I'm not really money oriented.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't want to devalue or undervalue what I do.
Right.
So, I try to keep it, at a price that's able to get in the hands of people that want it, that it means something to them. But not just letting it go where people who don't care about it are getting it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's I would hope there's fans who are like, this price is correct because this is what it's worth. and
I don't really have a lot of pushback. There's usually a little bit of haggling going on. When it's face to face. When it's not face to face, I've got an art rep, Spencer Beck, artist choice. He handles my artwork. But face to face, I usually at least talk about it.
I've actually dealt with Spencer way back in the day. I used to spend an embarrassing amount of time browsing his old website.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it's the same site. It's been a while, but I bought a page of Supergirl drawn by, was it Norm Rappund, or did he write it? I can't remember. It was a long time ago. Bought a page for
no, he's an artist.
well, yeah. I think so. I can't remember if he was the one who actually did the page though. But
Norm would have inked it.
right, yeah. But it was a really pleasant experience, and at the time it was I think this is like early on. Like nowadays, you can just kind of click and buy. Like, yes, I'll take that piece of original artistic
then you had to email and
masterpiece.
say what you wanted and see if they have
Yeah,
it.
you email him, say, hey, is this page available?
Right.
And then you send him a check or a money order or whatever, and then he sends you the page. But I always found he was
It's a
really
lot
cordial.
easier now.
Yeah, so to hear that you're working with him, that's I think that's rad. Because I know we've seen there's a gentleman who's at your booth a lot sometimes at conventions, and he's also been there. He worked the magic on Alex a little bit a couple years ago.
That's true. Yeah.
Oh, that was probably Mike. He's a buddy.
Right. I mean,
Yeah.
I could say he worked the magic on Alex, but Alex also was like, he wanted to be worked.
There-
I'm looking to spend some money. Tell me what I can buy.
There have been a series of shows where I have not gone to Tom's table because it's like I've forbidden myself from getting too close because I would buy everything. And so I just avoid the table completely.
It doesn't help when I'm there too.
Because
I have
It can't hurt to just stop and say hi.
right. I live vicariously through Alex. My original art collection is literally 3 pages in terms of like interiors, and then a bunch of sketches. So it's just not something I just unfortunately can't afford too much of it. So I live through Alex. So when Alex is looking at a table, flipping through a book, and he points out, "Oh my God, this is from that issue where this happened. It's
Yeah.
amazing." And he describes the scene to me, and it's amazing. And I can pretty much see like the speech bubbles. And I turn to him and I always say, "Buy it." And he says, "Shut up." And I tell him to buy it. And he tells me to shut up. And then sometimes he does buy it. So then I get to marvel at it and then put it into his portfolio.
I was just telling him about Terrificon, and I was like, and there was a page of Cyclops in jail after AVX. And Jared's like, that's when he was at his peak creepy too.
Yep.
He had the big old helmet blocking the blast, and
Yep. Had wasn't showing much remorse for his actions.
Nope.
Oh God, that was creepy Cyclops.
That was fun stuff.
I did come close on that one.
Yeah.
You know, sketches. One of the things I dig is that I haven't seen you repeat much. There's some artists, they're asked to draw a Superman, and they're asked to draw another character, that's to draw a Shazam. And when you see the Superman and the Shazam next to each other, they're kind of in the same pose. Because the artists,
which makes sense, they're similar.
well, they got a job to do.
Yeah.
And they're, they're super strong. They're going to give a flex on, maybe.
They might have a smile on their face.
Compared to like the specific Wolverine you drew for JR, I haven't seen you repeat in other places, and you've done a bunch of Wolverines. so when someone comes up and was like, I would like a sketch, can I get a bust or a torso of this character? Like, do you already have a set image in your head? Do you kind of like make it up as you go? Like, what's your process for doing the sketches at shows?
I guess it's a combination of things, and I do repeat. Everybody does. Yeah, I tend to I do quick sketches, and those tend to be a bit more repetitive. Just because you've only got so much time to get something fast done. So I tend to go back to the well a little bit more often on that. With the others, I just kind of sketch around until I get some shapes on the page that I like, that say Wolverine to me, or Hulk, or Batman, or whatever. I repeat theme more often than specific poses, I think. Yeah, like Batman looks good on a gargoyle. So.
He really does.
Do that. Wolverine looks good running through the snow, so you're gonna do that. But yeah, I try to mix things up. I mean, that's part of the fun of it, is doing different things regularly. The nature of comic books has you drawing a lot of different things, so that's one of the nice things about it.
I like hearing artists. Sometimes they'll complete a sketch, and I'll pick it up, or whoever's buying it will say thank you, and the artist says, yeah, that was fun. It was fun drawing this. And then I'm like, what about this? Is that something some people just say?
Tell me more about that. Why was it fun? Because I'm going to tell everyone this story when I show them the piece.
Well, I mean, there are a lot easier ways to make a living. So if you're not enjoying it, I mean, yeah, I'm not out there digging a ditch. I'm not, hauling a refrigerator on my back.
Yeah.
Those are certainly much more physically demanding. But, there are other art fields that I could be in that pay better, have fewer hours, that type of thing.
Right.
But this is the type of stuff I enjoy doing. So there's a certain amount of pay just through that. You know what I mean? It's not all monetary.
Right.
I wonder if, like, when someone gets a specific character request, or it's like, I never drew Black Bolt before, and this was fun.
Right.
I'm never sure if it's something like that, or if you can approach a creator with a new idea or something that's original, and if that original idea is like, can you give me Alan the Alien, but with the Cyclops visor? Because
he's a Cyclops.
And do they ever go, one of these guys? some kind of...
That sounds like fun, actually.
I had that with...
I like it when somebody comes at me with something I haven't done before. I just had a commission set up for Baltimore in a couple of weeks, drawing Zorro. I haven't drawn Zorro before.
Ooh,
so that I'm looking forward to it.
That sounds cool.
Yeah.
I had one of those experiences a couple years ago where I thought I was brilliant. I thought I was a genius. No one is as creative as me, because Cliff, I've told this story a couple times, I think, on the show, but Cliff Rathburn was at Boston Comic-Con a couple years ago, and I had the brilliant idea, hey, Cliff, can you do me a sketch of Invincible, because you're the inker on Invincible, but as a zombie, because you're the inker on Walking Dead too. And the response was pretty much, yeah, I can do another one of those, that's fine. And I was like, oh, okay, I thought I was a genius. But yeah, I mean, it's one of my favorite sketches. It came out great, but yeah. So
he's awesome, that's why.
Right? Isn't he so underrated?
Yes.
But one thing I do want to ask, and I'm starting to ask this of all artists that we talk to, because there seems to be a trending theme. At conventions, have you ever been commissioned to draw a giant evil robot into a man's enormous leather-bound book?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it was a couple years ago. It wasn't a specific robot. It was just a robot.
Yep.
Any kind.
I might be making up the giant evil part.
Oh no, that's...
Is that also what he does?
Oh yeah, that's specifically in his... That's the name of his books.
This guy, Tom Frank, he
Okay.
He has like
It's been
four.
a couple of years, so I'm not going to remember.
Right,
Yeah,
right, right. Yeah, yeah. He has like four of these
These giant tomes.
tomes that he sends all over the world. And I don't think we've met an artist yet on this show who has said, no, I've never heard of him.
Right.
Like sometimes people were like, oh yeah, Tom, I love Tom. Yeah, I do the same. You know,
Yeah.
I'm in 2 of his books.
I'm in book number 2.
Nice.
But it's turning into a who hasn't been in Tom's books.
Yeah.
But I'm glad to hear that you're also in it. We have some friends who managed to get into the books as well. A lot of people we admire, so it's good to hear that that you're within that company. Because that guy, damn, he gets around.
I'm not certain it's the same guy, but it may be.
I mean,
it probably is.
I haven't seen many others with giant leather bound.
Well, he has like a Facebook a page for the books. So
Right.
if we check, we can find her name in there.
It fits my narrative, so I'm just gonna go and say that it's him. But
And if I haven't, send him my way.
yeah, I'll be upset with him if he hasn't recognized it yet.
You brought up Baltimore Con coming up in a couple weeks.
Yep.
Where else can any of our listeners find you in the future, the near future, and where can they find you online as well?
Well, I don't have anything solid set up for next year yet because we've still got a little ways to go.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm going to be at Baltimore in a couple of weeks. And the week after that, I've got New York Comic Con. And that's the last of the large shows that I've got. After that, I've got the Albany Convention. That I can't remember offhand the date of it, but it's a nice little one-day show. They put on a great con. Let's see, and my buddy Mike, who goes to shows with me, he's got a little show in November that he's doing, just a little VFW show.
I like those.
That's artist heavy.
I'm going to interrupt you for a brief second. Do you have any, I don't know, do you have an opinion on shows and conventions that cater more towards artists and promoting the artists versus shows that have been leaning celebrity heavy more recently? And it's like, we have Celebrity Alley and come meet all, the people who were in TV shows 20 years ago. Like
I think they've all got their place.
Yeah.
I enjoy the shows that are artist heavy, just because that's what I'm there for, and I get to meet people that I grew up with. And I'm trying to be better at actually going up and meeting these people. So I enjoy that, but I also enjoy the more mass media type of shows as well, because sometimes it's cool seeing these guys. It opens up a different audience to us that I think should be beneficial, and maybe we could take advantage of it a little better. We've got different audiences coming in for celebrities. We've got different audiences coming in for cosplayers, for toys. All of this brings a different kind of visibility to comics that I think we'd be well served to take advantage of, in the best ways possible.
Now I see that also just browsing your Twitter, things like, it looks like you do some work with the Hero Initiative. Is that correct?
As often as I can. Yeah, actually, I was at Long Beach Comic Con last weekend for them all weekend.
Now, for people who might not be too familiar, could you give us like a quick synopsis of what the Hero Initiative is and what their goal is?
Okay, I'm not great with the elevator pitch, but but basically it's they help out people who've worked in the comic industry that have fallen on hard times. The history of the comic industry doesn't really treat its elders very well, and a lot of people came through without health insurance, without any kind of retirement, mainly because they weren't getting paid very well.
Right.
And as years went on and they ended up getting forgotten, they get left behind. So Hero kind of picks up the slack a little bit there. They've helped people with medical issues, with rent, getting food on the table. They've helped find people places to live, and others they've found employment, getting people back into the industry again. In cases, they're basically there as a catch-all to help people that worked in comics, that gave us the years of entertainment that we've gotten out of them, that have fallen on hard times. Like Gene Colan, they paid for his eye surgery. When his eyes were going bad. Things like that.
Yeah.
They help in little ways and big ways.
I remember seeing, because I've seen a lot of Hero Initiative stuff at conventions, but it's never been kind of, I feel like they do it right. It's not stuffed.
Oh, it's not in your face.
It's not you. Yeah, it's hard to put it without seeming just callous to it, because it's obviously a fantastic thing. I remember, was it I think it was a Tim Sale who
the bowl.
Yeah.
When he signs for free, but
yeah, it's like,
please donate.
Because I've heard, I think it was maybe even you, Alex. So you're like, what do I owe you? Are you charging for anything? And he just kind of points to the bowl. He's like, if you want to give a donation, you can give a donation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Tim does a lot of work for them. We're talking about George Perez. He's done a huge amount of work for them. He'll spend all weekend just doing fast sketches, talking to people, and just being great. Just being George.
Right.
But yeah, they've got artists and writers helping out at just about every show, every big show during the year, and they raise a lot of money to help people out. But yeah, they're pretty low key about it. They're not in your face like you're saying, and they produce a couple of things a year that help with that. They do a project called the whatever 100. They've got a Hulk 100 or Captain America 100.
Yeah.
We just did an Adventure Time 100. They've got 100 artists that do a sketch cover for them.
Damn.
They gather them all together. They put them in a trade paperback and they sell them, and then they auction off the artwork. And that goes a long way. It helps out an awful lot.
What else? While we're here, when I looked you up, I haven't read the books yet, but what was it, last year I believe we talked to Todd DeZago about the Telos tribute, and you have you have some work in that too.
Yes, I did. Yeah, it was fun, and it's it's a good cause. I believe it's the ASPCA that the money was going towards, and I think some of it, there's a Mike Ringo scholarship fund as well.
Yeah.
I think some of it went to that as well. It's been a while, so I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, it was nice to be involved with that. I knew Mike a bit, not as much as I would have liked to, but fantastically talented guy. Yeah, it's a massive loss that he's not still here with us, both as a person and as an artist. Yeah, he was good people on every way you look at it.
Right.
I'm happy to see him, remembered in that way, especially with his book.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it was great, and it was definitely from the heart.
Yeah, I remember when Alex, he got his copies in a couple months after we talked with Todd.
Yep.
And it's unbelievable that he was even able to orchestrate something like that. And it's also, for lack of a better term, unbelievable that so many people obviously cared for this person. This guy touched so many lives that all it was like hundreds of artists all came together and put their work. It's crazy.
It wasn't supposed to be 2 volumes, but you got enough artists who wanted to contribute.
Yep.
But thank you for all your work with the Hero Initiative and charities and things like that. It's fantastic to hear that things like that exist. It's also kind of a bummer that they have to exist and that these people aren't cared for, but they're, I guess, doing what we have to do. Tom, I got to say thank you so much for coming on. You can, I know I follow you on Twitter myself, at Tom Raney. That's TOMRANEY _art, ART. Where else can people find your work online?
I'm also on Facebook, just under my name, Tom Raney. Let's see, I'm on Instagram, also Tom Raney Art, but I believe it's all just one word. And I think I have a Tumblr.
That's like the definition of
should
Tumblr,
probably
man.
use more often.
I think I have one. But yeah, you can go and follow Tom on all the various social mediums, and check him out at a con. It's very much worth your while.
Try not to drool on the paper. Just,
Alex will be buying it eventually, so don't.
It's all under plastic. It's okay.
But safe travels at the upcoming shows. I'm sure we'll mosey over to your table at New York if I can convince Alex to. I'm just kidding. I'm being a jerk now, but we'll be sure to come say hi. We hope the shows are eventful and amazing.
Well, we had a conversation at Terrificon, and now I know how much to bring to the table because I was out of physical cash, and and that would have been the preferred medium. So I'll prepare better next time.
Oh, yeah.
Or just bring a nice conversation and a smile.
Yeah,
Yeah. That's true.
Exactly.
That is true.
But again, Tom, thank you so much for coming on. This was a blast. I hope we didn't hype you up too much, but we were very excited at the opportunity. So thanks again. It was great.
It was nice talking to you guys.
Awesome. I believe that's going to do it. Check out Tom at a show near you. Look at the pages. Look at everything. Chat him up. Maybe even give some money to the Hero Initiative.
Buy some stuff.
Buy some stuff. Yeah.
All right.
With conversation or money. But I believe that's going to do it for this week. Thanks again, Tom. So until next time, I have been JR.
I'm Alex.
And I'm Tom.
And this has been episode 339 of Opinions May Vary.